Coming up on Network Africa, Malawi destroys thousands of expired doses of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines. France and African leaders push to redirect $100 billion in IMF SDR reserves by October. Plus, Spain returns migrants who swam into Ceuta enclave to Morocco via land border. Hello and welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Layo Adegoke. Malawi has become the first African country to publicly destroy COVID-19 vaccines. Health authorities incinerated 19,610 expired doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine, saying it will reassure the public that any vaccines they do get are safe. The World Health Organization initially had urged countries not to destroy expired doses, but has now changed its advice. Uptake of the vaccine in Malawi has been low, and health workers hope the move will increase public confidence. Out of a population of about 18 million people, the country has recorded just a little over 34,000 confirmed coronavirus cases and 1,153 deaths. Mercy Malikwa, a Malawian journalist, joins us now for more on this. Thank you so much, Mercy, for speaking to us. Now, the health authorities, they say they've done this to boost the public's confidence in the safety of the jabs. But is the public buying this? What has been the response to this incineration?
Despite that, the Minister of Health emphasized once again that it had to do this, it had to do the incineration exercise publicly so that it wins back people's trust. Not many people have welcomed the idea. Mostly people have argued why the Home Minister of Health and government senior officials from the ministry had to take half the day to do this ceremony, which could have been done by a few officials. So mostly the backlash that has come about, it's not because of the whole exercise itself as destroying of the expired COVID vaccines, but it's because it had to be made into a whole ceremony where the minister and other senior government officials attended. But mostly, we are yet to see if this is going to do the magic that the ministry is expecting, which is increasing the numbers of people who will be turning up for vaccine in the centers.
Speaking of those who are going to be receiving this vaccine, how about those that have already collected their first jabs? Now, thousands have just been destroyed. What is the government's contingency plan, with regards to vaccinating the population, especially those who have received their first dose? I mean, what happens to the second dose they are expecting?
Currently, government is expected to roll out administering the second jab of the COVID vaccine on 3rd June, which is just 2 weeks from now. So at the moment, we had almost 500 vaccines that were received under the COVAX facility. Some came from the AU and others came from Indian government. And at the moment, we've only used 335 of those, which means that we have got more than 150 doses under government's custody. So government is also hoping that the second batch from the COVAX facility will be arriving in the country shortly to add up to the doses that we currently have so that it gets ready to administer the the second jab come 3rd June.
Right, Messi, just before I let you go, just give us a bit of a background, so to speak, on how the country has coped with the pandemic so far.
So for the past few weeks, we've recorded reduced numbers of new confirmed cases as well as reduced admissions in the COVID-19 treatment units across the country. And as of yesterday, we were counting day 10 without registering any new COVID-19 related deaths. However, there are fears of a third wave attacking us because South Africa has recently sounded an alarm, and our cases usually start increasing a few weeks after South Africa. So though we are in a good place in terms of the cases and number of deaths that we are recording at the moment, there is still a fear that a third wave might attack us anytime. And considering that the second wave that we had was quite hectic, no one is aware what kind of third wave is going to attack us, so people are just afraid. However, the unfortunate part is that this is not showing in their behavior because people have kind of relaxed in following the COVID-19 preventive measures that were put in place by government, such that government has had to plead several times that people should continue to follow the preventive measures religiously because we are not out of the woods yet.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Messi Malikwa, Malawian journalist. Moving on to Ghana, health authorities have deployed drones to deliver boxes of COVID-19 vaccines in hard-to-reach areas in the country. The country is administering 360,000 doses of AstraZeneca that were reallocated from the Democratic Republic of Congo, where uptake has been low. The exercise is taking place in 43 districts, and only people who have had their first jab will be eligible. The authorities have said they're hoping to secure more vaccines, as nearly 900,000 Ghanaians have been vaccinated since the exercise started in March. The government's plan to vaccinate the entire adult population by the end of the year has suffered a setback after India ceased exporting vaccines to deal with a surge of cases back in their country. World leaders at the Paris Africa Summit in France have agreed to work towards persuading rich nations by October to reallocate $100 billion in IMF special drawing rights monetary reserves to African states. French President Emmanuel Macron made this known during the press conference on Tuesday. African and European leaders concluded that African economies must not be left behind in the post-pandemic economic recovery, and a substantial financial package is needed to provide much-needed economic stimulus. International Monetary Fund Chief Kristalina Georgieva said it was time to stem the dangerous divergence between advanced economies and developing countries, especially in Africa.
Africa is very constrained in terms of fiscal space. African leaders are in a very tight spot. Revenues are down, expenditures are up, and debt is high. Therefore, if we want to prevent a lost decade in Africa, we all need to mobilize to support Africa, and Africa needs to mobilize itself to support its people.
In the meantime, French President Emmanuel Macron has said he'll visit Rwanda at the end of May to establish a new page in relations. His visit would be the second by a French president since Rwanda's 1994 genocide after former President Nicolas Sarkozy's visit in 2010. Speaking at the end of the Paris Summit on Financing Africa, Mr. Macron said his visit would be of remembrance, politics, economics, and the future, as he has agreed with President Paul Kagame to write a new page in relations and do development projects. Relations between the two countries were frozen from 2006 to 2009 after French judges issued warrants to arrest against Mr. Kagame's close allies. Now, this was in relation to the shooting of a plane that was carrying Burundi and Rwanda presidents in April 1994. That's the events that triggered the genocide. Rwandan authorities have been accusing French authorities of a role in that genocide and harboring the perpetrators. Well, Nigeria has got the support of France in the quest to rid the country of terrorists. President Muhammadu Buhari and his French counterpart agreed to work together to fight insecurity in the Lake Chad Basin area, an entire stretch of the Sahel region. According to a statement, Mr. Macron, who spoke at a bilateral meeting where he hosted President Buhari on the sidelines of the Financing Africa Summit in Paris, pledged his steadfast support for Nigeria and its people as they confront the security challenges facing the country. President Macron said the French government will absolutely be there on the side of Nigeria and it is willing to support with everything to assist the country to overcome the security threats. He also pledged to support Nigeria in confronting the challenges faced with COVID-19 vaccines. In turn, President Buhari expressed the willingness of Nigeria to work with France and all international partners to rein in the security challenges and thanked President Macron for agreeing to intensify the existing partnership with Nigeria. The United States wants the federal government of Nigeria to identify the culprits behind the nation's security crisis and also to punish them. Addressing a virtual news conference which was monitored in Abuja, the U.S. representatives to the United Nations, Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield, explains that those behind banditry and insurgency should be held accountable for their action by the Nigerian government. She is promising that the U.S. will support Nigeria's security outfits to combat the security threats in the country.
The issue that we continue to work with the Nigerian government on. We have called the government out when we have seen violations being committed. But we also, at the same time, try to provide assistance and train and equip law enforcement and other professionals to address some of these issues. Nigerian children had been kidnapped from a school. And again, that is something that continues to happen in Nigeria. It's something that we all have to work to address. We have to hold people accountable and really have them punished for those kinds of acts. Schools should be places where children can go to school and learn and be happy and thrive. And so as part of our work with Nigerian security services, it's also to help them be more effective and efficient in providing that kind of support and security for all Nigerians, but particularly for young children and young girls who are trying to get educated.
Well, Somalia's President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed is dismissing accusations that he is clinging onto power by deliberately delaying overdue elections. Last month, he backed down on his controversial plan to hold on to power for an extra 2 years after disagreements over how to hold elections. In an article on the Foreign Policy Journal, the president said it was still not clear how the deadlock would be resolved. He accused the few clan elders and leaders of federal states of holding the Somali people hostage every 4 years. Now, the main sticking point in this situation is whether the country should adopt direct elections or an indirect elections where clan elders select MPs who in turn choose the president for the country. Still ahead on the program. A Nigerian woman who's making a name for herself in the United Arab Emirates becomes the first female delivery rider in the nation's history. We'll give you more details after the break. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Migrants swimming and rowing boats towards the shores of the Spanish enclave of Ceuta on Wednesday have been confronted by Spanish police and the army, who moved towards a concrete partition back into Morocco. Now, Spain deployed its troops to Ceuta to patrol the border after around 8,000 migrants, many of them from sub-Saharan Africa and including some 1,500 minors, entered the enclave on Monday and Tuesday by swimming in or climbing over the fence. Even today, Wednesday, more migrants have continued to stream into the Spanish enclave as numbers slowed down and many returning voluntarily to Morocco. Now, Ceuta, with a population of 80,000, is on the northern tip of Morocco across from Gibraltar, along with another Spanish enclave, Mitibila. It has long been a magnet for African migrants seeking a better life in Europe. Morocco has a claim on both. Now, this situation has heightened a diplomatic row between Madrid and Rabat. Algerian authorities have labeled a separatist group and an opposition movement as terrorist organizations. In a statement, the High Council for National Security announced that the Movement for the Autonomy of Kabylie and the Rakad opposition movement were illegal and terrorist entities. Both groups are based abroad and have supporters in the country. Members of these organizations will now be convicted under a new law that punishes any Algerian joining an organization abroad that, quote, damages the interests of the country, according to the government. The chief of UN peace operations, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, says the fighting against terrorist groups in the Sahel region has intensified and continued to mobilize at different levels despite the ongoing context of the COVID-19 pandemic. He was speaking at a UN Security Council meeting. At that meeting also, the commander of the Joint Force, Brigadier General Umaru Namata, said the G5 Sahel states continue to make considerable sacrifices themselves, reminding council members of the need to find means of securing the financing of the joint force over a longer term.
The fight against terrorist armed groups in the region has intensified and continued to mobilize at regional, continental, and international levels, despite the ongoing context of the COVID-19 pandemic. In a testament to this international commitment, Task Force Takuba is now fully operational and has been supporting Malian armed forces in combat. It takes a variety of actors to confront the daunting challenges in the region, and coordination between security actors on the ground remains paramount. MINUSMA continued to provide logistical support to the 7 battalions operating under the command of the Joint Force within the framework of its mandate. All requests from the Joint Force related to petrol, oil, lubricants, and casualty evacuation have so far been honored.
We'll talk about humanitarian support. The Nigerian community in South Africa literally walked the talk of the Ubuntu phenomenon when they came together to change the world for an unemployed South African woman and her 5 children. Channels Television traveled to the Limpopo province for the unveiling of what exactly was done.
Up the hills of Hamairura in Venderland, South Africa's Limpopo province, lives a family of 6. Meet 32-year-old Musundwa Munyanziwa Leti, an unemployed mother of 5. They used to live here in this tiny shack. And now they live here. Musundwa's story made the local newspaper mid-2020, and that got the attention of Nigerian businessman Olorunfemi Adeleke. He works in the construction sector. He made a promise to the family. A few months later, A 3-bedroom apartment was standing close by.
The fact that 6 people would sleep in such a small shack is the motivation for us to do something. I mean, you've seen the children of the Musunda family. Imagine the 2 adults sleeping on the floor and 3 young kids with the mother sleeping on that small bed. I think it's enough motivation for us to be able to do something for them.
Mr. Deleke didn't work alone. The Nigerian Union South Africa, as well as other donors within and outside the country, made this house a home for a sometimes emotional Musundwa as she toured the house with her children. It's a far cry from where they're coming from.
I'm very glad and happy to call this my house compared to the old place we were in.
A representative of the Venda royal family, Madam Thelma Musoriwa Matumba, prayed for the Nigerian community and appealed to South Africans to embrace fellow Africans because there is a lot of good that can come out of it, like this gesture. From Hamairura, Limpopo, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
Well, Edo State-born lady Gift Solomon makes a name for herself in the United Arab Emirates as she becomes the first female delivery rider in the nation's history. In her quest for greener pastures, the 27-year-old school dropout fell victim to fake employment agents, leading to many months of hardship in Dubai. Gift has now turned her lemons into lemonade as she takes her place of honor, breaking the stereotype in the male-dominated industry. Our correspondent Mayowa Adegoke shares her story in this next report.
Nigerian Gift Solomon is the UAE's only female delivery rider. The 27-year-old, who hails from Ologbo, Edo State, works at Dubai's Freedom Pizza, where she serves as an assistant manager, but jumped at the chance of going into the delivery business when the opportunity presented itself.
When I sat down, I was thinking, Gift, what's wrong with you? Can you really pull this off? And then I started thinking, so many reasons started coming to my head, like, you've come this far, you left home without thinking too much, how you're going to survive somewhere else. So being this person, being a rider, wouldn't really be much of a difference. And I know as a person, as an individual, I grew up with a strong mother. And I know myself, like, I can do stuff. There are some certain things that I think that's tagged that ladies cannot do. But then that doesn't mean the law doesn't allow people to do it. It's just because ladies are not coming out to do the stuffs.
However, beyond this boldness, hers is a story of success against all odds. At just 22, she had to drop out of National Open University due to financial constraints. With her higher education, she moved to Dubai in search of a better life. But like many unfortunate individuals, she also fell victim to fake employment agents.
So when I came, I was in Dubai for about 6 months. There was no job. And trust me, those 6 months was like, should I say, the worst months of my life, because I really literally have to really struggle considering the cost of living. It's a bit on the high side. So I practically struggled asking money from friends. I couldn't ask my parents because I told them I already have a job.
Her determination paid off. From working as a phone operator in 2016, Gift rose to the position of assistant manager just last year when ambition took this latest turn.
There are some people that think it's not accurate for me to be a rider. There are some people that think, some people feel, it's all about tips. Or some people feel, I read some comments which is really not so cool.
She hopes her story can serve as inspiration to other Nigerian youth to always embrace hard work regardless of their circumstances.
As a community, and knowing the news that we have about Nigerians and Africans in general here, it's so good to see this sort of changes.
Gift's greatest wish is now to see more women taking on daring opportunities as she herself continues to effortlessly break down gender stereotypes one delivery at a time. From Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Mayowa Adegoke.
And that's it on the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.